to Teaching Strategies Tuesdays with Harris Innovation Consulting Group. Today we're going to go into point of view, into a piece of literary text. When we think of point of view, we talk about it in first person, second person, or third person. First person would be the character in the story. Third person would be a story told from the perspective of a narrator, and the narrator would also be a character in the story, but that character is just narrating the actual story. Then we go into the third person, and the third person would be a person that's narrating the story, but not actually in the story itself. So we're going to go into teaching the point of view with students. And in order to teach point of view with students, there are certain terms that students need to understand. Okay, so to teach point of view, we're going to use the book, The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. This is a great book to use to look at the point of view of two characters in the same story. So there are certain key terms that students need to understand in order to really grasp the concept of point of view. One of them being characters. Characters are not just a person or an animal, as we would sometimes tell students. There are also rocks, trees, and in this story, it's an actual tree. So they need to understand that if it's a person, yes, it could be a character, but if something has a personality, then that would also be a character in a story. The next thing that students need to understand would be the dialogue, what it actually looks like in a story. So you see here in this story, you have the boy who is grown up and talking to the tree, and they're having a conversation. So with dialogue, they're having a conversation and they are expressing their point of view through their words. This is something great to point out because you want students eventually, when they're writing their narrative types of writing, you want them to add in dialogue. Then we go on to difference. Students need to understand that point of view could be different from each character in the story. So they need to know that when we're talking about point of view, and eventually they get onto comparing the different point of views, and then sometimes comparing their point of view to the point of view of the actual characters, they need to be able to distinguish the difference between one character's point of view versus another person's or character's point of view. So with point of view, it would be the opinion or the perspective of a character that is within the story. Okay, so an activity that you can use with a story like The Giving Tree would be to take a piece of paper, and all I did was simply take this paper and fold it into 3 parts. And I labeled each of those parts beginning, middle, and end. Sometimes you have point of view, the character's point of view, it changes as the story goes on. And in this case, the point of view of each character, it ends up changing. So going back to our key term, which would be different, we need to make sure that students understand that when they're identifying point of view, they could identify 2 different point of views. With that point of view, I just pretty much took the sheet of paper that we broke up into 3 parts, and as you can see, there are 2 characters that we're going to identify their point of view. So I put the 2 characters in the top, put the 2 characters in the middle of the story, and then I put the 2 characters at the end of the story. So what the student would do is they would actually write a sentence next to the person, or excuse me, they would write a sentence next to the character stating what their point of view is, as well as their point of view. If it changed, they'll write a different point of view, and then on the last part at the end of the story, if it changed over time. What they would actually see in The Giving Tree is that the point of view of the characters, it changes over time. Their love for each other ends up changing. So the tree, which is a character in the story, loves the little boy all the way until he got older. But then the little boy, as he got older, his love towards the tree ended up just dwindling away because he had no need for her anymore. So with that being said, the point of view could possibly change over time, and so you want to make sure that you allow students to really recognize that by saying at the beginning of the story, the middle of the story, as well as the end of the story. So to sum it up, when teaching point of view, you want to make sure that students understand the differences between point of view from character to character, that it could be the same or it could be different. That's something to make sure that you point out. Well, that's all for now. Thank you for joining Harris Innovation Consulting Group for our Teaching Strategies Tuesdays. You can follow us on Facebook at Harris Innovation Consulting Group or on Twitter at Dr. Tawanda Harris. Happy teaching!